repeat here, but it's got to be done. So, everybody, welcome to session 6, Sourcing Lab. This is engaging talent, email templates, recruiting analytics. Today, we're going to talk about how we touch talent, how we reach out to them, how we get their attention with our first words. We put together a list of some email templates. All this will go on the SharePoint site, so feel free to go to the SharePoint and think about how you craft your letters to candidates. Think about how you touch candidates from you're emailing them. They haven't heard from us in a year. This is really how we're going to become more of increasing the response rate by learning what to create in our email out to people. So I came across this right here, this quote: "Engagement has to be human because people trust people more than brands." As I was mentioning on the first recording that it was not working, humanizing behavior within the recruiting world is, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of one of my strengths, or one of the things that I've really focused on, because I feel like people want to talk to people. We have an awesome brand behind us: Ingersoll Rand, Trane, Club Car, Thermo King. We have some of the top brands in the industry, but not everyone knows our brands. So if you think about when I contact someone for a job at Trane, they don't always know that Ingersoll Rand either is the parent company or what relationship we have. So the more I talk to the person and get them to, I guess, understand that I know what I'm talking about first and foremost, so I need to train myself on business knowledge, business acumen. The more they're going to trust me when it comes to teaching them how our brand integrates with what they would be doing on a daily basis. So anyways, we're going to talk today about engagement, how we engage talent, and how to keep it more focused on who that candidate is. So again, when I'm emailing somebody or messaging somebody, I want to make sure it's kind of personalized, or something in it is exciting enough as to where it's really going to attract them. If we look at our response rates, we can really control our response rate. By either being more open, or maybe being a little more closed and not putting a lot of information in. Polina is going to share a little bit later on. Actually, she's going to do Indeed Analytics, but we'll get into a template that Polina uses. And it's pretty vague. And the reason it's vague is we want to get people on the phone. We want to engage them, sell them, close them. So, and then here we go. So first, engaging talent. So proper messaging is the first thing we're going to talk about. Basic recruiting 101, have a compelling subject line. Joe Smith asked me to contact you. You should get a 100% response rate if the person has been referred. If not, something like, our accounting manager needs to get out of the numbers and make a difference. Should work since it describes the impact of the job. And what we're saying there is that, how to get a response rate. So if somebody especially when we're recruiting for training, sales, and service, or, we're working with a group of candidates that is pretty well known, because, again, we're an equipment manufacturer in a lot of areas. So a lot of our customers are our competitors. So by doing our intelligence gathering first and foremost, compiling a list, sharing it with the local office, who's who, putting a manager's name in the email, or putting that referral's name in the subject line. We really want to make sure we grab that person's attention by putting that information in there. The company I used to work at before Ingersoll Rand, we would send out a list of jobs every month, and in it we would put something like, "Do you want $500?" or something pretty, kind of cheesy. But it was attention getting. I know it sounds funny, but we're not trying to put that in emails to candidates here. I think it should be job related. Use your best, discretion when it comes to that. But I think that is a great opportunity for us to really grab people's attention. Number 2, highlight the employee value proposition in the first line. So if you use the example, get a seat at the head of the strategic table as the first line for an HRBP search, this is the only way to get a top tier VP candidate would consider relocating to an out of the way Midwest location. It worked. So again, if we're thinking about, and remote locations is great for us. Think about the plants we have, and some of the sales offices out in the middle of nowhere. How are we possibly going to get somebody to do that? It's got to be good, right? It has to be something that's really going to grab them and make them feel like this is a bigger job than what they have. And again, Polina's example for her template's going to be really good for that. That's a great point there. Forget the skills. So instead, describe the two biggest challenges the person would face on the job. You might want to say something like, use your extensive knowledge of guidance control systems and GLISP to build an A1 engine for our driveless factory forklift system. The secret there is use your messaging to demonstrate how a person can use his or her skill set to make a bigger impact. So the reason that's important is candidates get a lot of emails, they get a lot of messages, and a lot of the time it's for jobs that have absolutely nothing to do with what they like to do or what they're currently doing. And it might not be very challenging to them at all. So talk about a job. If it's a controls engineer, if it's an energy engineer, we're doing large performance contract energy audits. Level grades levels 2s and 3s. For a $14 million project on the Hawaii Islands currently with Archdiocese. Something like that where we can really talk about the challenges of the job, because people want to be challenged. I want to be challenged in my job, and I don't know anybody that really doesn't want to be. That's a really important part of again, grabbing someone's attention. Number 4, tie the job to some grander purpose. One of our clients included this in her emails and tweets: flight nurses helping save lives every day. So again, I guess we're kind of saving lives. I mean, good air conditioning, we got to have safety on our products, but we're not flight nurses, right? So how can we tie our jobs to a greater purpose? So let's think about our company overall. We're huge on sustainable energy, right? We're big on that. We want to be a more environmental friendly company. That should be one of our bigger selling points when we're reaching out to candidates is, hey, do you want to work for an industry leader in the energy efficiency space? Lots of great opportunities for us there. Cutting edge. Well, I guess our building automation controls, we're like 3 or 4, but maybe we're not cutting edge building automation controls, but our chillers are. So our chillers are cutting edge. Lindsay Winden works on some controls, chiller techs. It might be a good opportunity there to put something, jazz it up a little bit and talk about how great our chillers are. I mean, they're one of a kind. So, we can't sell that stuff short. Number 5 is a great one and something that I use constantly. So take the pressure off. Don't try to sell the job in your email. Sell a conversation instead. I'm not even going to get into that chat. I'm going to give more of a personal experience here. A lot of my emails that when I go out to candidates, I say, hey, let me know if you'd be up for an informal conversation. I don't say, if you're interested in this job, please apply here, and then I'll give you a call. I want to talk to that person. I want to, and we'll get into this more in a few weeks when we do Classroom 7, but talking about selling a job, I can't sell a job via email very well. I can put some points in there to make it sound attractive, but to really sell a job, I need to find out what they don't like about their job. And until I know what they don't like about their job, I'm not going to be able to really truly sell them a job. I can guess if they work for a smaller company, our benefits can be really attractive to them. Great. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's a turnoff. So, I need to really get on the phone with that candidate. So by being vague, by being not coy, I don't want to lie to the person, but I want to be vague. I want to get them on the phone. I want to tell them about a new job. That's my goal when I get on messages to people is let's talk. And again, sometimes it doesn't work well, and I talk for a long time with someone, and they're not a fit, and that's a tough pill to swallow, but that's recruiting. And then number 6, have the hiring manager call or send an email. This is an interesting one here. I have never had a manager say, no, I won't help you recruit an A-plus talent to Ingersoll Rand. I've never had a hiring manager say, that's your job, I don't want to do it. And the reason I bring that up is, I feel like sometimes, even in my old life, before Ingersoll Rand, I used to be afraid to say, hey, hiring manager, I got nothing for you. But instead, I would just try to keep digging and keep spinning in circles. And that's being really inefficient. So if I actually take the time, show the hiring manager the work that I've done, we collaborate, we reach out to some people together, or I give that manager a phone number, because again, we can, based on our tools that we learned in earlier sourcing labs, we can pretty much find anyone's phone number anytime. So let's figure out a way to contact that person together, and we're going to get a huge response rate from that. Most people are not really that shy to talk to managers, even if it is more informal and they're not interested. The likelihood of them going from passive to interested, talking directly to a hiring manager, I'm sure the percentage is higher as compared to a recruiter. But it's just a tool in our tool belt that we should be using. So, any thoughts around the 6 topics of engaging talent, the 6 points that I brought up there? Anyone have any additions or subtractions that maybe they didn't feel was fitting to our industry or fitting to what we do at Ingersoll Rand? Okay, great. So we're going to move into templates. So the first part was engaging talent, so how we're going to reach out to them. So these templates are kind of an example, a group of examples of what's some current wording or examples of what we're doing today. So I got 4 templates here. I'm going to go through them real quick. But again, they'll be on the SharePoint site for you. Again, this isn't a hard and fast rule. This is, let's think about the best way to approach your jobs and what your candidates want to hear. I completely understand that people on the enabling function side or the engineering side might not want to hear what the salespeople are wanting to hear. Salespeople, all they want to see is comp and territory and how they can make more money. Again, we're going after different markets at times. So, really think about what your market likes and how they like to be talked to. So this template I grabbed from Mario. So Mario, I think I told you I was going to use this when we got to this point. So thanks for sending this over. So Mario talks about a job in Salt Lake City. He does send me your resume if you're interested. That's fine. Sometimes we want to be very direct with candidates in the technician world, and if they're interested, they're interested. Sometimes there's not as much gray area when it comes to technicians of, we need to woo them or we need to sell them. A lot of times it's, they're kind of looking at that point and they're either interested or they're not. So what I love about this email is, he talks about his senior controls tech role in Salt Lake City, but he also talks about his different locations. This is so cool. We have locations all across the country, multiple offices in every state. If somebody wants to get to that different state, we want them to choose Ingersoll Rand. And I don't know what it is with candidates in the industry, but if you think about it, how many times have people responded to you and said, no, I'm not interested, and then like 6 months later you find they took a job in Phoenix, Arizona to get closer to family? Well, why didn't they tell us that they were looking in Phoenix, Arizona, or that would be their dream location? A lot of times we forget to ask candidates, where do you want to be? What's your dream location? Why do you want to get there? And then when those jobs come up, we can actually talk to them about that. I feel like that's a great miss for us sometimes in the recruiting world, is thinking outside of the box of our current location. If you're not interested, let me know if you have anyone that might appreciate the opportunity. Also seeking to fill roles as project manager, sales, etc. So Mario's recruiting for everything at every time. Like, I love it. I mean, this email makes me smile so much because it's kind of broad. I mean, yeah, it's focused on the controls tech, but hey, maybe this person wants to get out of being a tech and move into project management or sales. Pieces of this template should be pretty much in every message that we put out. So Mario, I hope you're blushing, but this is a great job. So, keep this up. So the next one is talking about a leadership opportunity. So this one is Polina. Polina, why don't you jump in and talk about this one and why you crafted it the way you did? I know there was some special circumstances here.
Hey Tim, hi team. Sure, I'm happy to speak to kind of this email template. And so sometimes with program management positions. I'll kind of sell it as a larger role in terms of titles. So, for example, Nicole and I are working on some program management positions at Club Car. And so basically, really we're expanding the team. It's a relatively new program management office. So in the body of the email, I'm really kind of honing in on the fact that there's an expansion, Club Car is growing. And then in terms of the title, the true title is Global Director of Program Management. And so in the subject line, I would then put Global Executive Management Opportunity or Global Executive Program Management Opportunity. So at Ingersoll Rand, we don't really have an executive level title. So when you put executive, people aren't really, they're more drawn to that title because they don't know, is it in the C-suite, what level of the organization, but it sounds very high. So I would say putting executive in the subject line or in the body of the email will draw more interest. Is there any questions about that?
Nope. Thanks, Paulina. That's great. And the YouTube video that she put in here about our Club Car business, again, really creative, really neat. Candidates, they're not always going to go do that themselves. Oh, let me go out and take a look and see if I can find some videos on the company. But if you think about it, and all they have to do is click a button, let's count on people being lazy these days. Let's just call it what it is. Let's say, hey, likelihood maybe they're not going to go out and do it themselves. Let's put a link here for them, and I bet that sparks a lot more interest as compared to not. That's something I've never done actually, is put like a business link where there's a lot of YouTube videos out there where some of our vice presidents, and I'm sure Michael Mock's out there as well. Why don't we put that out there and let them learn a little bit more from the senior leadership of our organization about who we really are. That can be a great selling point. Next one. So this is general networking. So this is the Daikin list that I was talking about. So a big strategy for us in 2018 is to make sure we're going after talent from our big competitor at Daikin. So what I do is, hey, one of the internal recruiters here at Train Ingersoll Rand. Again, I do that simply so they know that I'm not a third-party agency. I want them to know exactly who I am. We're gearing up for 2018, looking to add to our sales team. I don't talk about any specific sales role because, again, this was I think I contacted 400 Daikin salespeople. I think we ended up talking to probably 50 maybe, which is great results. I mean, 50 out of 400, I'll take it. That's like 30% roughly. Yeah, let me double check that math. But anyway, I talk a little bit about the perks. So we're thinking about big company to big company. So I want to do a little bit about selling to make sure that they know Train's right up there with them. Our 401k is unmatched. I mean, 6% dollar for dollar, and then they throw in another 2%, so 8 compared to 6. The HSA contribution, Train sales plans are fantastic. I want to make sure they know that. And then the next sentence is the big one. If you're open to a conversation, let me know a good time and number to reach out. Again, also the position does not have to be local. If there's another location you would prefer, let me know. We have offices all over the U.S. and we'd be happy to help you get there. I just want them to know that we have the opportunities all across the country. I want to be vague and just talk to them. It doesn't have to be a big conversation. I talked to a guy yesterday that was kind of slow to follow back from December, and he's not really willing to move or make a move until April 1st when Daikin's bonuses go out because they're on a April 1st end of year, which I thought was really odd. I'd never heard that. So anyway, he said he's going to be at the AHR in Chicago in February, so we're going to connect then. And, again, just building that relationship, building the touch points, and for down the road, I want to make sure that I'm keeping that person in, contact with Ingersoll Rand. So the last one, again, sales. So this is direct sales, not direct sales, but this is sales as to where we have a position open. I want people to respond right now. Don't worry about the typo. Pretend like you didn't see that. Details is not my thing. Selling a job might be my thing. Sales. So here we go. So internal recruiters looking for someone based out of Houston to sell power tools for our distributor channel. Position has a base between 80 to 110 with a bonus potential of 40%. That does not cap until you hit 250%. So given those numbers I threw out there, I got a lot of responses. So this was Lindsay Monroe's job. I probably had 12 responses out of 20 candidates that I contacted, and 3 of them got into the process. 1 interviewed, they liked him, but they went with another guy. They're going to keep in touch. So again, not a hire this time, but down the road, great. So when you put the numbers out there for a salesperson, it's pretty easy because if you think about it, if there's a guy making 150K base with an 80% bonus or 50% bonus, he or she's not going to be interested in this job. So I want to protect my time. Again, I do want to talk to a lot of people and try to sell them on the job, but in a sales role, there's no point wasting my time talking to someone that's making $400,000 or $500,000. Sometimes even if we can be really attractive, we get to the end of the road and we get to the offer negotiation, and then they end up turning it down anyway because they got a counter offer. Kevin, I'm just messing with you, but yeah, it's very touchy when you're talking to salespeople. So again, here's a link to the role. If it looks interesting, let me know a good time and number to reach out. I want to dictate when we contact them. I've started using text messaging a lot if I'm having trouble getting to people. This let's connect is getting tougher sometimes. We're a lot busier. They're busy. Text message is my best way to schedule with a candidate. So email templates, any conversation based on those, any tips, tricks, thoughts that somebody else uses or wording that somebody else uses for different SBUs here? Okay. I think Damien's typing.
Hey Tim, I'm not sure if you're going to share this shortly, but are we going to get into some like the technical positions and what those emails look like later, or can I share that now?
Yeah, you can share that now. I didn't add all of them to the. Let me pull them. I'll pull them up for you, and then we'll go from there. You can talk about it a little bit.
Okay, great. So, I think putting together these emails and engaging talent is probably one of my favorite things to do in my role, and really trying to get the candidate's attention. So, there's been some really niche engineering roles that I know a lot of us are working on. And so I recall one that was in lovely Hastings, Nebraska. Marissa and I were working on some quality engineering roles. And so when I was sending out those emails, in the subject line, it varied. So if I had their personal email, I would put in the subject line quality engineering opportunity, and then in the description, I would put in leading quality processes or quality engineering processes. So it would almost allude to the fact that you're leading processes. So that can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. They could interpret it like it's a management position. So a lot of times I'd get a response because I phrased it that way versus just calling it a quality engineer. And then with that position, I did not specify the location. So then they would reach out, and then I would say, well, hey, let's have an exploratory. I have various locations available. And then once I got them on the phone, the cool thing with that position was they had a new product line where we were manufacturing refrigeration units for rail cars. So that was brand new. So I was able to really kind of discuss that and how Thermo King was growing. So those are just some tricks that I use in the technical space. And then another one I can think of too, that's Marissa's. We had a position in Minneapolis, Minnesota for like an advanced manufacturing engineer, and it was titled like advanced quality processing engineer. And so I would put it in the subject line or in my description. I would call it a quality engineering program manager, because technically you are managing engineering projects, programs. And so I would get more responses that way as well. Now, it's definitely trial and error. I had a few situations, and I know I reached out to Tim and Lindsay, and I was like, oh my gosh. So if if I've got just their work email and I email them, I'm not as aggressive or direct. I'm a little more passive in the email, and I think that's what Tim, you just had that one. So if I'm emailing them at work, because I had a couple situations where a couple people got mad that I'd email them at work directly, so I softened the email a little bit. So I would just put in the subject line the day that I'm sending it out. So let's say it's a Thursday I sent the email. I'd put Thursday opportunity. And then the subject line I would put, if you're someone you know is interested in learning more, please call or email me. And so that seems to work, because then they'll message me or they'll give me a call or they'll send me an email, and that takes the pressure off them. And so, typically I'll try an email first, and then if I don't hear anything, then I'll call them at work. And then if I get them on the phone at work, I want to be polite. And so I typically will say, hi, John Smith. This is Polina Mann with Ingersoll Rand. Would like to share a great opportunity with you. I realize you're at work. When is a good time for us to set up another call? And they're usually pretty good. That they'll definitely give me the time of day, and then I have their personal number, and they'll provide me with their personal email address. So usually if I get them on the phone, they're usually pretty open to continue a discussion. In fact, that's how Damien and I are working on an algorithm engineer, and so that was kind of my approach with one of those candidates, and it seems to work.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, I've heard Polina will just drive to their house and go from there. So no, I'm just kidding. Thanks, Polina. Those are great.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right, and yep, Damien, that's a good point. So Damien brought up a point via Messenger to display our products or brands. That could be something where you put a link specific to the product or brand that we're looking for here. And what I mean by that is controls engineers. Controls engineers, Trane's had we've been in the top 5, but we're not always number 1 when it comes to control systems. So, sending out a link to our products or how we've gotten better is probably a great selling point when it comes to controls engineers. That, hey, this is where we've come from and this is where we're going. Because they're gonna, people want to work with good equipment and good products. So that's a great point, Damien. Thanks for bringing that up. All right, our last topic, we're going to talk about recruiting analytics, competitive info. So recruiting analytics can go both ways. It can go for recruiting analytics for metrics, finding number of submittals and all that. But what I was referring to is recruiting analytics around number of jobs open or the unemployment market or competitor information, supply and demand reports of how much talent is available in the marketplace and vice versa. So given that we don't have Career Builder Edge anymore, and that was a supply and demand tool, but I don't think we're gonna miss it because it was a very average tool, just like most of them are, because you really can't get down to supply and demand within the power tool space or within the HVAC space. They're all very vague to sales, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, but we can supply some information to our hiring managers, and this is kind of this is pretty. Crosses over a lot with the Trusted Talent Advisor training. So it's a little bit of both here, but it absolutely is sourcing. Sourcing to understand our marketplace, sourcing from Owler to understand what our competitors are doing, who the key competitors are. There's a lot of information I need to be deadly before I can go out to the market. So a couple quick examples here. So this is Owler. OWLER.com. They got cool owls, so that's something cool. Not quite ninjas, but owls are cool. It talks a little bit about Daikin and the leader of Daikin, talks about some competitors. Number 4 is Trane. I'm pretty sure I would put us at number 1 right now, just in terms of the battles in the marketplaces and Daikin's grabbing market share and we're taking it back. I definitely think we're number one. A lot of information here just on educating yourself, revenue history, market trends, employment history. Down here at the bottom, there's Daikin Applied News. That's kind of neat. And you got to remember, Daikin Applied is different from Daikin. So Daikin Applied is like their commercial sales offices like we have. So it's a lot smaller of an organization as compared to Daikin overall. This is an interesting one. Gartner named to represent Daikin in Northern Ohio. We all know well about that one. Another one right here, Daikin and Harrison Energy Partners. These are ex-Trane franchises, so that's why I'm kind of laughing about it. Anyways, lots to learn here about the company, about what they're doing. And then the first one was the countryeconomy.com. And what this is it talks about, this is the finding unemployment rates. So if you look at the unemployment rates here, you can sort by country. So where we came up with this was using the rapid improvement event for pipelining. We wanted a tool that was going to be global, so this is a global tool. If you think about this, if you're ever recruiting for positions overseas or wherever else, you just click on United States, and it talks about unemployment rate. It's by sex and age, male, female, from 2006 to 17. So again, is this going to tell your hiring manager that, hey, there's this much talent in your marketplace and there's this many HVAC engineers available? Absolutely not. This will not do that. But it'll give you an understanding of there's a higher demand for people in the marketplace right now. If you analyze the data a little bit, we've gone over the last 25 years from 10% to 3.4. 4.6 from female last year to 4% available currently. It's really neat to educate yourself on what you're facing, and what I mean by that is if you think you're going to go out and you're going to have a lot of people apply to jobs because they're unemployed, you're way off. And I think we all know that, right? We don't get the applicants we're necessarily looking for always by applying. So we need to be prepared with a lot of information going out there. I mean, think about if you dropped an unemployment rate bomb on a hiring manager. He's like, there's got to be people out there looking for jobs. Well, actually, it's at 4.1% and an all-time low. So there's probably not a lot of people out there. So again, it's just arming yourself to be a little more deadly when it comes to recruiting and talking to managers. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those. There's plenty to play with there. If you look at those, I think the big one that we're going to use is Indeed, and I'm going to let Polina talk about that. So, Polina, do you need to grab the screen share, or do you just want to talk about, or do you want me to navigate through Indeed while you're talking through it?
I can share my screen. Let's see. I could probably start. We might run out of time, so I can at least kind of maybe just go over some things high level first. Maybe the slides, see where we land, and then do a demo. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, just try to keep it real high level. We'll give them the tool. We'll let people go out and play with it themselves. But yeah, keep it as high level and see if we can wrap up by 2.
Okay, then I will go ahead and share my screen because there's some stuff that, I use Indeed all the time, but until you get in there and start playing around with it, especially if you haven't looked at, some of the links, you may forget it's there. So this is really a great tool. Give me 1 second. I will share my screen and we'll be in a good spot. All right, it looks like it's up. I'm seeing it. Is anyone that can't see it?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, awesome. So Indeed is one of those websites that is amazing to use for market research. And, now kind of thinking back on it, some of the intakes that we've had where maybe we've gone on a roller coaster ride on some of these engineering roles. Looking back, I'm thinking, it might have been a good idea to maybe leverage some of this data. So the cool thing with Indeed is literally there's 100 million resumes out here and 2.6 million added each day. It aggregates it's an aggregated job search tool. So this means that obviously companies don't have to pay to post on it. So it goes out to the web and pulls jobs, like it pulls Ingersoll Rand positions. So this is really all encompassing in terms of what jobs are going to be available out there. And so what that does is create kind of a picture what the demand looks like for the talent. So I was just going to kind of walk through a demo. So let's use quality engineers as an example. So I like the advanced job search function, especially if you're going to use this on a during a hiring strategy session with the manager. So basically, there's a couple of different ways that you can search for job openings. So right now we're going to search for, look at the demand. So what jobs are open right now? We're not looking at resumes. So basically, you could search by the job title, the company. I've played around with this, and I like that first line with all these words. So I would put in quality engineer. And then I would then click United States, because a lot of the engineering roles we are offering relocation. So obviously, like for example, we've got an engineering role in Buffalo, we're not. Then I would just change the location of Buffalo and do the search. So basically, this will search any variation of quality engineer. So when I click Find Jobs, it'll pull up a variety of position. So I would do it that way. So you see that there across the U.S. there's 95,321 jobs. Now if you do want to be more specific and you want to kind of go back and you want to do the exact title, so let's say all the quality engineers out there are called quality engineers, you could do it this way. And so there's 4,992 open quality engineer positions. So imagine if you were on an intake session with the hiring manager and share that. I think they'd fall off their chair. So there's a lot of open positions. And then the cool thing is you can go over here to the left and it says salary estimates, job type, locations. So again, kind of back to an opening we have, let's say in like New York, right? Well, if we were looking for a quality engineer in New York, so this isn't really breaking it out into, it looks like it's breaking it out into some bigger cities. So you can see like what jobs are open. You can see the companies that have these openings. So if a hiring manager said, I want to go recruit from GE, well, okay, well, it looks like GE does have those types of positions. They have quality engineering roles. The other thing you can go into is this neat little tool right here, quality engineer salaries in the United States. So if you click on that, then you can then see what the average salary for quality engineer is, $71,113. So that's an estimate. It does seem a little low to me. I kind of find from experience around 75,000, but it's still close. And then you can go in here and you can look at all these companies. So let's say we were looking at Philips and we were trying to recruit a quality engineer, right? And really our midpoint that we were targeting was around 75,000. Well, we're going to be out of luck because it looks like the average salary for a quality engineer at Philips is $88,720. So this is just a great tool to share with hiring managers. So that this is really neat that they've got all the salary information out here. So any questions on this piece? So the other cool thing from a demand standpoint, you can go into company reviews. And then you can type a company. So let's just use GE as an example. Let's just throw in GE Corporate. So this is cool, right? So GE Corporate is in Connecticut. And then it'll list out where there's GE Corporate has jobs. So let's say we were looking for like a finance manager with GE, right? So we would look at the corporate hub. So then when we can use this information, this demand information, to determine where to target talent. So, I might want to go ahead and when I'm searching for talent, search for like Houston, Texas, or it looks like there's a lot in Oklahoma. So you can really use this as demand information and then also determine when you're doing a search across the U.S. on companies and locations. So this is pretty handy. So any questions on this piece? Okay, and then the only, we only have a few minutes left, and then the other thing you could do while you have the manager on the phone is just go to Find Resumes, and I think everybody has done this before. So again, just go to Advanced Search. You could search it a couple different ways. Let's just go to title of job, quality engineer. We're just gonna leave it United States. Leave it open. So there are 120,722 resumes. So that's way too many resumes to go through. So this is some information on the supply of quality engineers. So it looks like there's a lot of quality engineers out there. So clearly there's more quality engineers than there are openings, which is a good sign. So then we can come over here and we just want, we're looking for just regular quality engineers, not a manager, not a project manager, so we can click on that. And then, while you have your manager on the phone, you can determine, well, which one of these companies are we wanting to focus? I know UTC has a great lean program, so, we may want to focus on that. So I think this is great to incorporate into a hiring strategy session, or even if it doesn't happen during a hiring strategy session, if you're not finding the right talent and you have another call with the hiring manager and human resources partner, that this is a great way to provide market data. Any questions?
No questions, Polina, but obviously a great free resource for sure. Cool. All right. Is that all you got, Polina?
Yeah, that's about it. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Cool. All right, good. All right. Well, thank you, Polina. Very much appreciated. I always appreciate the help. As for everybody else, thank you for joining the Sourcing Lab today. Not a whole lot of new tools, but some cool tools, free tools that we should be using. And, it's not just about, new tricks to find people. It's about how we talk to those people. That's a big, big part of sourcing, so we can't forget. So again, if you need to a reminder on where the YouTube channel is, it's Ingersoll Rand Sourcing Lab on YouTube. Follow me, looking for followers. Ingersoll Rand Sourcing Lab. If you search that, it'll pull it up. I had to actually change my personal Gmail account, so now my name on it is Ingersoll Rand Sourcing Lab. So it pulls it up on YouTube. So anyways, thanks again. Thanks for the participation. And we will talk to y'all soon. Happy Friday and enjoy the weekend.